My husband wants to name our daughter after the ex-girlfriend he loves the most because he wants to be reminded of her, so I decided to be an ex too. We've been dating for a year, and been married for 2 years. I got pregnant like 7 months ago, so recently, we started discussing the name for the baby. Ever since we found out it's gonna be a girl, my husband wants to name it like his ex's name. It's not any ex but the one he dated for a long period of time and loved the most. At the beginning of our relationship, we had many problems because of her, but she moved away so the problems went away. He really loved her, and he never hid that from me, but I thought it was over once she moved away. Now he made it clear that he wants the baby to have that name and I can name the second child. When I asked him why he wanted that name so badly, he said just because he and his ex didn't work out doesn't mean he doesn't want something to keep reminding him of her. He doesn't understand how much it's affecting me and keeps saying it's just the hormones. Is he still in love with the ex, or is it normal that he wants to name our child like that? Update: my husband, who called me so many bad names, refuses to talk about it, and still wants to name our child like his ex. The next thing I did was call his mom and mutual friends. His mom called me immature and said it was just a name and I should only care about delivering the child healthy and not argue with him over something stupid. Our friends said they don't want to get in between us and suggested therapy as well. I was really desperate, so I did something I never would. I called the ex. She didn't sound surprised at all by it and said she kinda knew he was gonna name the child after her, but she explained it fully because he couldn't look me in the eyes and say all that. Two of them had an agreement while they were still in love, to name their children after each other if they don't work out. She left him and obviously grew out of it and said she would never name her child after him because it's absurd, but she wasn't surprised that he still wants to do that. When I asked her why, she said that, well, here comes the shock. My husband tried getting in contact with her via Facebook several times, asked her to meet up, etc., and she kept refusing because he is a married man. Here you can see that she is not a bad person, by the way. For anyone who asks, her name is Aurora, and I wouldn't mind just naming my child Aurora because it's a beautiful name and she isn't a bad person, but I don't want to raise someone who will remind my husband of his ex. I thanked her for telling me the truth and asked her to inform me if he tried to contact her again. I confronted my husband about it and told him I knew the truth. Being an asshole as he is, he admitted and said there was nothing wrong with it. The baby was mine, she will look like me, and at least he gets to name it after her like he promised he would. I told him it was nonsense, and even Aurora said it was stupid, but he stuck to his decision. We didn't talk much, and he spent days and nights out with his single friends. Pretty soon I got a call from Aurora and she told me he called her from his friend's phone and told her he is single now and asked to meet up and that he would fly up just to see her. After all those years with no contact with her, marriage with me, and future daughter, she is still in his mind and he wants to meet her. I'm completely broken. Divorce is the only thing on my mind, but it will be so stressful with pregnancy and everything else. I guess I wanted to be blind with him. Edit. Also feel free to drop names in the comments. I don't want to name my child Aurora because it would forever remind me of this incident, and I can't think about names, so help me out.
My girlfriend is the gentlest person I know and she can't even hurt a bug, but someone broke into her house and she beat him half to death. A little bit about my girlfriend. She cries when she sees sick or hurt animals. She's constantly doing or offering to do nice things for people. She won't even squish bugs. She catches them and releases them if she finds any. She's a Buddhist. Non-violence is important to her. Before this, I described her as the gentlest person I knew. So what the F? The other night, I was sleeping over at my girlfriend's. She lives one street over from the middle of nowhere, with no street lights, and no sidewalks, and keeps her house dark at night except for the room she's in to attract bats and attract bugs. I think it was like 2 a.m. when I woke up to my girlfriend telling me to call 911. Long story short, a guy had broken a window into the garage and was going through my car. He had a knife but my girlfriend had a shotgun, unloaded, and wanted to scare him off with it. But this guy was unhinged and charged us. I don't really remember how it happened, but my girlfriend somehow tripped him. Or maybe he tripped on his own, and then started basically tamping this guy's ribcage down into his lungs with the stock. I had to physically stop her. After I stopped her, she was so calm. She sat cross-legged on the floor and called a lawyer before the cops even arrived. No charges for my girlfriend. Lawyers have been helpful, cops less so. They wanted to arrest me when they got there for some reason. And my girlfriend had to actually ask for an ambulance for the guy because they tried to just load him into the police car and he was screaming and moaning. He lived but is still in the hospital. It's been 2 days since this happened, and I still feel like my heart is racing. Every time I see my girlfriend I see her covered in blood with a shotgun. It hasn't changed how I feel about her, but goddamn, it's changed how I see her. Update. My girlfriend is doing good, all things considered. Someone was worried that the blood was hers. The guy came in pre-wounded because there were bloody handprints on my car. He was definitely on something. My girlfriend is currently taking a bunch of drugs since she was exposed to his blood too. Girlfriend hasn't talked much about what happened and I'm not going to push her right now. I am worried about her. I am taking care of her. I've been staying with her since this happened, and feeding her. Many people seem to think my view of her has changed for the worse. That is deeply untrue. It's still pretty fresh in my mind and I'm processing things on the go. I was just having difficulty reconciling this new view of her with who I thought she was before, but I realize now that she hasn't changed. I just learned more about her, and I learned that she's a certified badass. Also, a lot of people are calling me out for not helping more. Don't get me wrong, I feel guilty that I didn't do much other than call 911 in the moment. I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses for myself because I was still absolutely scared crapless, but my girlfriend didn't really give me a chance to help. This all happened very quickly. By the time she woke me up, she was armed and out of bed. I'm deaf in one ear and a heavy sleeper anyway, so I'm glad she woke me up at all. I'm not sure why the shotgun wasn't loaded. She only told me afterward. I was expecting her to shoot him, not beat him half to death. I gave my girlfriend a gift and her reaction makes me want to cry. We were going to celebrate after I came home from a small family trip to the city, and I kind of cheaped out on the gifts I wanted to bring her because I was running a bit low at the time. I got her this polished rose quartz stone that I immediately regretted when I saw rose quartz emblems, necklace add-ons, and even earrings. I looked back so much on it and wished I could have gotten her at least another one of whichever I could get because I felt so bad that she could have gotten something so much nicer, but instead, my rushy mind opted out for the simple one. The day I arrived to go see her, I stopped by a local produce shop that sold these beautiful flowers. Again, I didn't have much on me then, so I got these slightly limp, non-wrapped bundles of daisies. If I remember correctly, they were the only flowers that were not put in the bouquet wrapping and stuff. They were just rubber banded together. I cried a little on my way to her place because of how much I wanted to give her. My parents don't quite support us fully because she was a dropout, has family issues, and has been through way too much. Her kitten, whom we raised together as a cat, dad died of a heart attack and I was going to help comfort her too. I didn't have a job because of how competitive the search was for us students, and I relied directly on chore money and leftovers from errands. When I got to her place I immediately gave her the gifts and she gave out the biggest open mouth smile ever. It wasn't the cutesy no teeth grin she does when happy, but her jaw literally dropped. She displayed the little quartz rock thing by her table near her bed and she most importantly loved the flowers. She loved to point out how they were fluffy and pretty and fragrant and she was so excited to stick them on her phone case. I wanted to apologize so much because of how cheap the gifts looked, but she looked like they were some cure to cancer or something. I love her and I can only wish to provide more and more.